Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from HolsingerFlyShop.com. Bringing another fly time video this week, and this week it's a streamer pattern. This one's called the Articulated Goldie. I've seen a couple different guys doing videos of it. I do one thing a little bit different in my video. It's something at the end. I palmer some Marabou on it. Most of the guys don't palmer it, they just throw it over the top. I think by palmering the hackle, it makes it look a little bit more cleaner. So do it however you want. I'm going to show you how I like to do it. But right now I'm going to start doing a small series, maybe a couple weeks here on some streamer patterns. I want to change things up. Haven't done streamers for a while. And right now as I shoot this video, it's the end of summer. It's right around Labor Day. Bass season is starting to slow down. Before you know it, Steelhead season's going to be around the corner here. I'm even hearing of a couple steelhead being caught in the tributaries on Erie right now. So I'm not jumping the gun and running up yet, but I'm really biting at the teeth to go. Or biting at the bit, I mean. But anyway, I want to do a couple flies that are going to do double duty. They will catch you bass, and they'll catch you steelhead and trout for that matter. This is going to be one of those patterns. This is one that I'll throw for bass, and I'll just as easily, if I'm up on the Erie tribs, or or any other one of the tribs up there, throw it for steelhead and salmon. So don't be afraid to tie this fly. You're gonna make use of it if you like to swing, especially for smallmouth and stuff like that. This is gonna be a nice shad imitation kind of pattern, and it'll catch a fish. It's just a great all-around bait fish imitation. So enough talking. This is a little bit lengthy video because it's articulated. 2 flies actually is what you're tying here. Let's get into tying it. Here you're going to see a picture of the fly and then the material list to tie it. Okay, in the vise you see the Articulated Goldie. Cool looking articulated fly, front and back shank here you see. Let's get into tying it because it's going to take a little while. For a hook, for the back hook of this, I'm using the Firehole 811. The reason I'm using it is because of the straight eye. You can use an 839 if you don't want to buy 2 different hooks. I'm going to use the 839 on the front hook. But I like the straight eye, so I'm going to use it on the back here. I'm going to start out with some white thread. That's 140 Denier white thread. And then the next thing we're going to put on is some white Marabou. And I'm going to make a tail about the length of the shaft here of the hook shank. And just get that on top, tie it down. And using the tips of the Marabou there to make a nice tail. And then cut this off, and I like to cut it off with a little bit of a taper. Just so it lays down nicely there and you don't have an abrupt end to it. And that looks good. I like that. Next thing I'm going to put on is some gold Krystal flash. And I'm going to just take 2 strands of it, lay it up alongside the tail, and tie it in on one side. And then bend it over the hook, bring it over the other side. And then just cut that off to the length of the tail there, as you see. And try to get it laying down on the side in the middle. Okay, so we're done with the tail now. Next thing we're going to put on is a saddle hackle feather. You can use this off the cape, off the bottom of a cape. Just get a big white long feather wherever you can find it. The grab bags are usually good for them. Just use whatever you have there. We also sell Schlappen. Schlappen will work good here too. We're just going to tie that on by the tip. As you can see, I tied it on there at the tip and leave it hang off the back. Next thing is some medium gold UV polar chenille. And I'm going to tie that on the top of the hook here and wrap that back towards the tail. And then once I get that tied on, we're going to wrap this up the shank. Now you can do this one of 2 ways here. I have a Renzetti Master Vise, or I used to use my Renzetti Traveler, which is a nice, both of them are nice rotary vices. I like to use the rotary vise a lot, especially to do this, but I want this to stand up and I want to make sure I get it it's a little hard to crank your vise and wrap these fibers back as you go. So sometimes if I'm not in a big hurry, I'll just do this by hand like that. And if you don't have a rotary vise, you don't need one. So, but it is sure nice to have one. I love my Renzetti. So we're going to wrap that up there, cut that off. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this saddle hackle and not trap that crystal flash there at the back. And I'm just going to wrap that up through. And as I do, I want to kind of wiggle it around a little bit, trying not to trap those fibers. That's going to be the hardest part. We're going to brush them out here in a second, but you want to try not to trap them down as much as possible. So just wrap that up there towards the eye. Once we get it up to the eye, we're going to tie it off. And then trim. Okay, now that we got that tied on there, make sure I get these all wrapped back, going the way I want them. And I'm just going to take my brush and come in, and I'm going to really try to scruff those gold fibers on that UV polar chenille to get them untrapped from my hackle feathers. And then just push it back towards the back. Get everything going the direction I want, like there. I like that a lot now. Now, last thing we're going to do, get that crystal flash on my side here, back where I want it. There we go. And last thing I want to do is put on just a little bit more Marabou on the top. And this is just going to be to blend the two pieces together. So I want it to go the length of the body there. I don't want it to go over the tail. And just tie that down right on the head. And then trim off the butt. Trim that as close as the eye as possible. Try to make a nice clean eye there. I didn't do the best job, but it'll work. And then whip finish this off. Okay, now that is the butt section of this fly. I'm going to do another whip finish quick. And if I'm tying these for myself, I'm going to tie 6 or 8 of them at one time. So I'm going to tie 6 or 8 of these tail sections. The last thing we're going to do before we take this tail off is I'm using some like 50-pound braided, this is bass fishing line. And, oh, I forget, Seagar is who it's made by. I have a big spool of it from my bass fishing days, and it's now become used for this. The other thing I'm going to do, this is, if you wear braces like I do, this is a floss thing. To thread your floss, your floss to get it through your braces. So I'm going to put that in the eye of the hook. It's just a quick little secret here. Put that through the eye of the hook, and then bring my braid down and pop it right through the eye. So I put both sides in at one time. You can see there, I got a loop on it there. And I'm just going to put the two ends up through the loop. And then slide that loop down over and pop it down over the eye. Just like that. Easy way to do it. This floss threader that you use for braces, it's also a great bobbin threader. Just FYI there. Now that's done with the tail section. Let's get into tying the head of it. For the head, I'm going to switch a hook out here. I'm going to use a Firehole 839 on the head. This has a down eye, as you can see here. And I like it a little better. I like the straight eye on the back hook, but the down eye on this one. For a bead, I'm using a Tungsten Conehead bead. This is an extra large for this size 6 839 hook. And then I'm putting about 15 wraps of .025 lead on here. Just to give it a little extra weight, because it's a pretty big fly with a lot of fluff on it, just to help get it down. Then we're going to go in and cover that all up with my 140 Denier white thread again. Trim that off. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is blend the two pieces together. And to do that, I'm going to flip this upside down, and I'm going to tie about the length of the hook shank again here. I'm going to tie a piece of Marabou on, and I'm not using a lot. If you see there, I was using just the tips of the Marabou, so I don't make a lot of it. And I'm going to tie it on the bottom of the hook shank. Split it in half and bring like half over each side of the hook on the bottom. And this is just going to help me blend the two together and not see the connection point in the fly. Trim off your butt section there, flip it back over, and then we're going to connect the two flies together, the front and the back. So we're going to put my trailer piece on top of it here, and I want to tie this strand, the two strands, I want to tie them down on top of the fly, and I want to leave like about 1/8 of an inch gap between the hook shank, the front shank, and the back shank. There, so it has movement there. I don't want a big gap. I just want a small one just to get a nice transition there and give this lots of movement area. Then I'm going to take both of these pieces of braid, pull them backwards so that's definitely not coming loose, and then trim them off and cover them up nice. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little bit more flash. I'm going to take 2 more pieces of the gold crystal flash, put it on the side again. You don't have to do this. This just adds just a little bit more flash to it. And get down each side. And then with this piece, I want to go about halfway down, about to where I ended the Marabou on this piece here. So next thing we're going to do is add a little bit more Marabou on the top to cover up this junction. So as you see here, I'm not adding a lot, just a little bit to get a nice transition there, but it covers it up nice. Trim my butts off again, then we're going to come back in with another one of these Hackle fibers. Take the tip of it, peel the tips back. I'll tie it in by the tip. And then get my UV Polar Chenille Gold again, the medium size. You could use the long if that's all you have. You might have to trim it down a little bit so it's not big and overbearing. Wrap that down, and then we're going to wrap it forward. And again, side by side wraps. Making sure those fibers stand out nice so you get a nice flashy body. And wrap it up there behind that cone head. Get 2 or 3 wraps there to tie that off, and then we're going to wrap our hackle up through it. And again, I'm trying to split this, trying not to trap these gold fibers. Just kind of wiggle it around as you go. It helps to, you're going to trap some. That's a given. If you wiggle it, it helps trap less. And get this right up there to the bead. Maybe make an extra turn or 2 here at the bead. And then tie that off. Okay, now we can come in if we want to, put a little bit more gold flash. Again, you don't have to. Put 2 strands down my side again. Pull it over and wrap it down the other side. And then the last thing we're going to do is add 1 more piece of Marabou. Now this piece of Marabou, you can see I grabbed the tips of it here, and I pinched the tips and I stroked all the fibers back. A lot of guys will just put another strip down like we did back here on the top. I don't really like doing that. I like to pinch the tips out like this, and I like to palmer my Marabou around. I think it makes it a little bit cleaner looking fly. You can leave those tips standing up there, and then I'm just going to peel all my Marabou fibers backwards and wrap this around like Hackle. And make probably about 3 wraps is what it's going to take. Just as I go, I keep wrapping, pulling them backwards so they lay the direction I want them to. And there we go. Yeah, I got about 3 wraps. And then we're going to tie that off. Okay, then I'm going to trim off the butt section of that feather. Peel all of these back, and if they're a little bit long, trim them with your finger, but that's not too bad. You can take your brush then and stroke them all in the direction you want them, help splay them out a little bit. And then just to clean it up just a little bit more, what I like to do is take a little bit of Ice Pearl SLF Prism and just put a little bit of that on my hook, or sorry, on my thread, and make a little prism collar on there. It just cleans it up real nice. Make a wrap or two through it there. That cleans it up real nice, and we're all done with a whip finisher. Whip finish right there behind that cone. Let me give it one more. Oops. And we are done. There you go. Cool looking streamer pattern. Not that hard to tie. A lot of simple techniques that we've done on other patterns all put together to make one cool looking streamer. Alright guys, I hope you like that fly as much as I do. It's a cool looking pattern, and it's really simple. It's a lot of simple techniques that we've built on over the years through my videos, and that's all fly tying is about. Stacking old techniques one on top of the other to get a different pattern, and that's all we did here. You know, we made a really cool looking articulated fly out of really simple fly tying techniques, just stacking them all up to make a really cool pattern. So as always guys, you know, mess around with things. Maybe tie it in white, and instead of doing white on the top, put a little bit of green on top for an emerald shiner. Like I'm saying here, you know, Erie Steelhead, they like their emerald shiner, so maybe add a little bit of green into it if you want to, with a little bit of olive Marabou instead. Play around. Like I said, the way I originally saw the pattern tied was, instead of how I showed you there, palmering the Marabou for Hackle for the collar, a lot of guys just put a little bit out the cone over the top of the back, and do that with the light olive, like I said, and make an olive back on this thing, and it'll be a great emerald shiner pattern. Definitely tie it bigger if you're going to be targeting bigger fish, swinging it for muskie or something like that. And like I said earlier in the video, I use a Firehole 811 in a size 6 and an 839 in a size 6. Tie it bigger or smaller, either one. You can definitely tie it smaller, and I'm sure it'll be deadly smaller too on your trout. But you don't have to have the two different hooks. You could tie it with both 811s or both 839s, either one. I just like that straight eye for the trailer hook. So anyways guys, thanks for watching. If you need any of the materials in this fly, like always, please go to our website at holsingersflyshop.com. And if you would like me to tie some of these for you, if you don't have the time to tie them and you want some, I can send them out to you. Just reach out to me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. Plus, any questions you have, reach out to me at holsingersflyshop@gmail.com. That email goes directly to me, and I can answer your questions there. So thanks for watching, guys. Drop a comment, hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And until next week, when I bring you another video, I'm Sean Holsinger.